"They found a body on the ladder of the gods?" the woman at the next table asked loudly. Dunstan, about to tap open the shell on his soft-boiled egg, poised for a microsecond before carrying through the action. It was too late. His pause had been noted. He could almost feel the heat of Marjorie's glare on the unprotected bald spot of his crown. He busied himself, picking bits of shell from the egg's creamy interior, before risking a quick glance at her. Her strong features were twisted in a scowl. "I suppose you want to stick your nose in those people's conversation and get all the gory details?" Her disapproval made her tone strident, and some of the other patrons at the restaurant turned to look at them. He cleared his throat in embarrassment and tried not to let irration force him into a quick retort. She had been through a lot, and he had promised not to get involved in anything even remotely connected to police matters. He looked in her eyes and saw the fear and pain beneath her bluster. He turned his gaze to the right and stared appreciatively at the turquoise waves lapping the pale gold sand several yards away. The tips of the waves gleamed like star points as they danced with the current. It was idyllic, and just what his weary soul needed to recuperate. He wondered how things were at home, and instantly regretted, he thought, as the memory of his last glimpse of his island flooded his mind, blocking out the tranquil scene before him. The image of flames shooting out the top of the volcano and the hellish glow of the sky and the stench of sulfur was so powerful, he felt his pulse quicken and his breath catch. "You okay?" Marjorie leaned forward and put the back of her hand against his forehead. He swallowed hard and forced a smile. She made a sound of concern and signaled to a waiter to refill Dunstan's glass of water. He watched her rummage around in her aged leather handbag until she found the bottle of pills the San Martino doctor had prescribed. Dunstan tugged on his goatee unhappily. He thought about protesting, but at least she wasn't angry anymore. He watched her shake out 2 small white tablets into her hand and reluctantly accepted them from her. He put them under his tongue and let the bitter aftertaste fill his mouth. He drank the lukewarm water, making sure to swallow the tiny grains of the dissolved pills. He smiled at her. She visibly relaxed, and he felt yet another stab of guilt for causing her worry. He scrutinized her, noting the increase in her gray hairs and the deep lines across her forehead and around her mouth. Yet all the while his ears strained towards the conversation at the next table, where the Texan tourist was still speaking quite animatedly. He scooped out some of the congealed yolk and ate it, hoping to cover the metallic tang of the medication. The tourist didn't seem to know much. A man's body had been found on an ancient rock formation in a remote northern village. She was peeved because the tour operator had canceled her group's outing to the famous site and refused a full refund. Marjorie glared at the loud woman and mumbled under her breath. Dunstan ate his buttered toast and munched away, feeling much better. He found it hard to accept that his heart was weak, but the bouts of palpitations and breathlessness had worsened in the weeks leading up to their evacuation from St. Mart's. The doctor, Marjorie had nagged him to go, seemed sure a heart attack was imminent and promptly prescribed heart pills. Certainly thinking of the devastation and watching the images of the ash-covered capital of St. Mart's wrenched his overloaded heart. What he needed was a distraction. Puttering around in this quaint but charming bed and breakfast on the seaside was relaxing, but there was only so much reading and sunbathing one could do. "Let's walk into town and maybe do some window shopping," Marjorie suggested. He sighed inwardly, but agreed. The town was an easy 10-minute walk away, down pleasing flower-lined cobbled streets, and colonial-style homes and store facades in vivid colors. He grabbed the Cubs baseball cap his son had brought him from the U.S., and they walked through the tiny restaurant area and into the lobby. Marjorie told the receptionist at the desk that they would be back in her halting schoolgirl Spanish, and then they left. His spirits lifted at the view of the sun-drenched streets and the outline of the distant hills around the town. San Martino had an attractive, distinct flair due to its Dutch-Spanish-derived culture. Rollicking guitar music floated out from the stores, and the aromas from street vendors' fried meats and pastries made his mouth water. There were too many tourists as far as he was concerned, making a general nuisance with their public drinking and carousing.